Right, Shalom, Brother Zachariah. Whilst I'm winning, everyone's doing well, enduring all the trials that come in this life, and abounding more and more through the precepts, abounding more and more in love and righteousness, so that we can attain unto perfection through the Spirit of Hamashiach Yahawashi. So,
Shalom, Brother Cashapp, myself, and everyone's enduring, holding fast to the faith, come on.
All right, let's start off in Acts chapter 13, verse 14, which is why we're here. Shalom, love, Shalom, Eliezer, Shalom, Sapai, Shalom, the man as well.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 13, and verse number 14. And it reads, "But when they departed from Perga, they came to Antioch in Pisidia and went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day.
When?
On the Sabbath day, and sat down."
Right. So Paul, he kept the Sabbath, right? He made sure he was in the synagogues on the Sabbath. He made sure we have to go and observe the Sabbath and sit down, right? Sit down, right, to be edified or to edify or both. That's what the Sabbath day is about, right? This is after Yahawashi. Yahawashi died. Now we can just do what we want to do on the Sabbath. Now we can just go out, wear skimpy dresses and run down girls on this Friday nights and Saturdays. They weren't doing that. Oh, because Christ died, I can do anything on the Sabbath day. No, man, Paul was keeping that. Right? You go in on the Sabbath day and sit down. Did they sit down and just watch and just chill and just watch movies? Let's read the next verse, Bible for sure.
Count verse 15. "And after reading of the law and the prophets."
Right, after the reading of the law and the prophets. Not the watching Netflix and just chilling around, just messaging random people, man, about folly, right? About the Champions League games and about the latest anime shows, right? Everything has to have a balance, of course, but the Sabbath day is about us sitting down and reading the law and the prophets. This is what our forefathers are doing. We have to go into the law and we have to go into the prophets on the Sabbath day. Go on.
"And after the reading of the law and of the prophets, the rulers of the synagogue sent unto them, saying, Ye men and brethren, if ye have any word of exhortation for the people, say on."
Right, so they read. So the law and the prophets is just another way of saying the Bible. They read the Bible, and then those who were dealing with the teaching, right, they would also open up to anyone who's going to have a word of exhortation, right? So the Sabbath day is about exhortation. It's about reading and studying. So that let's get the definition of exhortation, I've got this here. Yeah. This is exhort. We have to go through exhortation on the Sabbath day, man. It's not. Let's get also Exodus chapter 23, verse 12. Right, so first I'm gonna get the definition of exhortation. So exhort, right? It means to urge someone earnestly. So we need to bid our people into to urge one another earnestly. Urge to do what? To keep the commandments, to be righteous. We need to be urging one another to keep these commandments. Right? Got that?
God, it's the book of Exodus, chapter 23 and verse 12. 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the seventh day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed.
Right. So the stranger may also be refreshed. The stranger should be refreshed. And also the handmaid, everyone is meant to be refreshed on the Sabbath day. Right. So the refreshing is us being built up and having exhortation on the Sabbath. We have to have an exhortation on the Sabbath. So something that we kind of build up a little bit more to endure and persevere in this truth, right? So the Sabbath day is exactly for that. So what we're going to do, right, is go into the life and times of Yahawashi, right? What was going on at the time of Yahawashi? What was taking place? Because a lot of people, they don't really have the context, man, right? And, I just got to, right, the Sabbath day is to be observed. The commandments are to be observed. And Yahawashi, he kept the commandments, right? He let's go to Hebrews chapter 4. That's like chapter 2, verse 15.
So book of Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 15. And deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage.
Right. So yeah, the Most High came to deliver us. And deliverance comes through Yahawashi. Right. It doesn't come through any other false god but Yahawashi. Let's now go to chapter 4 and then start verse 14.
Hebrews 2 and 4.
Hebrews 4 and verse 14.
So book of Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 14. Seeing then that we have a great high priest, that is passed into the heavens, Yahawashi, the son of Yahweh, let us hold fast our profession.
We have a great high priest. We don't have the high priest of this world. Right? We don't have the presidents, and we don't look to Rishi Sunak for salvation. Oh yeah, Rishi Sunak, please save us. I don't want to get into this war. Sunak, please save me. Right? And you're writing petitions. Right? You're doing trying to get 1,000 signatures so Rishi Sunak can save you. That's not gonna happen. Right? You're trying to vote for Labour. Maybe if I vote for Labour, maybe them guys will save us. They'll save us from the Russians. No, that's not gonna work. We have a great high priest into which we have salvation. So we need to honor and glorify, right, the high priest that we have been given. Let's read on.
God, verse 15. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Yet without sin.
Yahawashi was yet without sin. So he may have had Satan try and tell him to not keep the Sabbath, but he kept it. He may have had Satan try to tell him to eat pork, but he didn't eat it. Right? So it says we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities. And Christians, they're getting touched by Satan. Right? They get in touch with the feeling of the infirmities of Satan, and that's why they have sin. Right? Just letting Satan touch them, just touch them up, touch their garments, touch their flesh, and now they're going into all types of manner of sin. Right? Eating everything they want to eat. Right? It's getting touched by the devil, man, and that's just fine with them. That's just cool. Oh man, that's not cool. Let's go to Matthew chapter 2. We're going to talk about our Lord and Savior, Hamashiach Yahawashi, who had no sin in him. Right? He had no sin in him. So we want to know, who's this man who had no sin in him? Let's get Matthew chapter 2, start verse 1.
So book of Matthew chapter 2 and verse 1. Now when Yahawashi was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem.
Right. So wise men that came from the east, right? They came to honor Yahawashi. In Christianity, they say the three wise kings. There's no three wise kings in the Bible. But again, Christianity taking L's, right? Putting things in the doctrine of the scriptures that's not there, so that they can satisfy their own lusts. Oh yeah, the three wise kings that came to give presents, and that's why we celebrate Christmas on his birthday. That's what they try to say. They try to use this account to justify Christmas and pagan holidays. They try to say, these were kings, they came to honor, mixing up precepts, adding in words that they want to add in, right? These are not just some random Chinese kings that just came from the east to worship Yahawashi, right? These are men that came from the east, and they were very well learned in the scriptures that we're going to read on, right? So just a little, like yesterday, we're kind of speaking to these churches, man, right? You got churches out there that are not teaching the scriptures. They're going and they're putting one precept on the back of the wall, right? Like UCK, we're calling out churches, man. UCKG, they be putting one scripture on the back for 2 hours, just one scripture, and just talking about everything else, man. Right? Out of context, man. We've got Deuteronomy at the back, right? Don't even care who was talking to, who is talking about, and what it means. They're just gonna use it to justify their own doctrine, man. That's why we have to go into the scriptures and read it precept upon what precept, man. Right? Let's go to Luke chapter 2. I'll start verse 1. Right. Yahawashi was born in Bethlehem of Judea. So what was he doing in Bethlehem in the first place? Right, because his father, he wasn't from Bethlehem, right? But it was prophesied that Yahawashi would be born in Bethlehem. And him being in Bethlehem was like, no one really expected it. We were kind of caught off guard that it would be him, right? And the Pharisees and the scribes, they were saying, no good thing can come out of Galilee. Let's read that. We'll get to that.
Luke 2 and verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed.
So this is the time of the Roman Empire. This was the Caesar that was reigning at that time, right? Caesar Augustus, right? And you had different Caesars. You had Tiberius Caesar, who was a Caesar who was reigning while Yahawashi was doing his ministry. But when he was born, Caesar Augustus was the one that was reigning at that time. Go on.
And this, verse 2, and this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria.
Right. So this is why we have to get the context, man. Right? You got certain people saying, you know what, there's certain parts of the Bible that don't matter. Right? There's certain parts of the scriptures that they don't really matter. As long as you believe in Christ, you're going to be saved, and that's all that matters. Oh no, man. Right? Because what about Donald Trump? If he believes in Christ, is he going to be saved? Right? It's not just about that, man. Right? The devils believe in Christ. It's not just about that. That's one of the things we need for salvation, but we need other things. We need to understand what we're actually believing in. You're believing in Hamashiach Yahawashi. Who is he? Where did he come from? What was he doing? What was going on? This is actually a historical event. It's not a fairy tale about the three pigs, man, and the big bad wolf. It's not Hansel and Gretel. This is actual history. So we have to know and understand what's going on in this history. Let's read on.
Verse 3.
Right, because some churches, man, in Christianity, they don't care about no context. They're just telling people, yeah, just believe, just doing some type of cult, man. Again, we're calling out, it's Charis Church, man. They're saying, you can call the pastor David Antwi, right? We're calling out names, man. You're letting your people call you daddy, man. You're letting people call you daddy, and you think that's fine. What precept is that? And your members are saying, oh, it's fine with that. They're like, oh, that's cool. You've got to deal with the members, man. Let's go to Matthew. Let's go to Matthew chapter 23. The church is going off, man. Having people call you daddy. That's man. Can't. Start 8. Can't.
Matthew, it's the book of Matthew 23, and we'll read from verse 8. And it reads, but be not ye called rabbi, for one is your master, even Hamashiach, and all ye are brethren. And call no man your father upon the earth. Call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your father, which is in heaven.
Right, so you can't just call random men your father. Yeah, your pastor comes in the stage and saying, "Oh, daddy, that's not right, man. That's weird. You got pictures of him on your home screen, and you're saying, oh yeah, that's use that on your home screen. Oh, that's my daddy. Right? You actually have a father. You don't even call him. You're saying, oh, he's not really my father like that. But this man right here, that's my daddy. Right? That's off, man. Calling the pastor pappy and them things there. That's wicked. All right. So these churches, man, they don't even care about no context. So let's go back to Luke chapter 2, verse 1. You have to go into the context of the scriptures. You say, oh, it doesn't matter. if it's not salvation, it doesn't matter. We need to believing in Christ. You need to know who Christ is if you're believing in him. Otherwise, you don't even know what you're believing. How does that sound? You don't even know what you're believing. Don't even know what empire Christ was living in, but you believe in Christ.
What nation he was from.
Yeah. Let's read on.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 2 and verse number 3. And all went to be taxed, every one into his own city.
All right. So everyone, when they received their applied and did their taxation, they would have to go into their own place where they came from, right, in their own city. Let's see, right, where Yahawashi's father went.
Verse 4. And Joseph went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was one of the house and lineage of David.
Right. That's why Yahawashi is the son of David. Right. That's why he is the tribe of Judah. Right. His father went to Judah, and that's where his hometown was, man. Right. That's where his forefathers were from, in that land. But he was residing in Nazareth. That's why they went back there with Yahawashi, and he lived there. All right. Let's read on a little bit.
Verse 5. To be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child.
Right. His espoused wife, being great with child. So that's his wife. Right. Before Yahawashi was brought forth, that was his wife. So again, you've got to deal with the context. Right. This is not we've been through it, man. I'm not going to repeat it. We know what it's talking about. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 2 and verse 2.
So book of Matthew chapter 2 and verse number 2, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen this star in the east and are come to worship him.
So the wise men came, and they're looking for Yahawashi. How do they know about Yahawashi? Right? It's saying we've seen his star in the east. That's not talking about, you got them nativity plays, man. You got the big star. Right? I think it's what is I can't remember what it's called. It's got a specific name, but you got that big star, and it's got and people put it on the top of their tree. That's not the star that they were seeing. Right? They didn't see a big star, and it was just there, just chilling. And they said, "Oh yeah, look, Yahawashi is gonna be born," because they saw like some star just glowing. No, man, because this is in the nighttime, so the things that are in the sky, they're gonna look like a star. Let's go down and let's read verse 9.
Verse 9. Matthew 2 and 9, when they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them.
Right, it went before them. Right, let's go to Exodus, right, and chapter 12. Right, the star, it said it went before them. So how's a star? When have you ever seen a star just moving, just on the go? All right, let's go to Exodus. So like at chapter 14 and verse 19.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 14 and verse 19. And the angel of God, which went before the camp
Right.
of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them.
Exactly. Right. So what went before them, that was the angel of the Most High. And the angels of the Most High, they operate in what? They operate in the chariots. So what they saw at nighttime, you might see, lights in the sky that might actually be a chariot of the Most High. You might think, oh, that's a star. But then you see it moving, man. The stars don't just move like that. Just moving across, man. So it might see to the carnal eye, you might think, okay, well, that's that's just a star out there. Yeah. Or, is it a bird? Is it a plane? Oh man, that's an angel of the Most High. Definitely not Superman, but it's an angel of the Most High up there, right? Operating in the chariots. And that's why it went before them. Stars don't just move across and it's not a shooting star, right? So So it's not a star that was just chilling there. They came and they saw a big star over there and just, oh man, this is a chariot that is bright in the night sky, right? As the angel of the Most High, it went before the camp, right? And followed and went before them, went before them, went behind them, and stood behind them. So this is the angel. Let's get verse 20 as well.
Verse number 20. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud and darkness to them.
So it was a cloud and darkness to the Egyptians. Go on.
But it gave light.
It gave what?
Gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night.
So at nighttime, the angel gave light. What gives light at nighttime? A star. So it's referred to as a star, but it's really the angel of the Most High that's operating and showing these men where Yahawashi is going to be born. Right? It's the same way that it showed the Israelites which way to go through the wilderness. That's what the chariots do. They show you, they give direction and show you where to go at nighttime. When you don't have any other option. That's what they did back then, and that's what they did to lead our people to see Yahawashi. Right? Let's go to Micah chapter 5 and then verse 1. Book of Micah chapter 5 verse 1. So right now they're in Bethlehem. Why? Because Joseph has gone towards there in order to be taxed. Right? And these wise men, they're looking for Yahawashi right now, trying to find out where he is. That's how important it was. People were looking for the coming of Yahawashi. It wasn't just a random event. People were longing for this coming. People didn't want to. People wanted to be saved. Right? There's salvation, concepts that a lot of people don't really understand. Salvation is coming out of the land of your enemies and all the hand of them that hate you. This is what the people were longing for. They didn't just want to be taxed. Like, why would you want to be taxed? Why would you want the money you're earning to be given unto another people who's not going to profit you? Let's get that.
So book of Micah chapter 5 and verse 1. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He have laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek.
Right. So that's going into Yahawashi. Right. Yahawashi, he was smitten upon the cheek, man. Let's read on.
But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting.
So this is what people were looking for. They were looking for someone to come out of Bethlehem, right? And out of there is going to come a ruler in Israel, right? A ruler of the people. So people were looking for that, right? So that and many other prophecies, people, again, they accustomed was to read the law and the prophets on the Sabbath. So people are seeing a lot of people are seeing these prophecies and expecting the coming of Yahawashi. And, especially we had, because we had Israelites all over the world, right? Let's go to Acts chapter 2 and verse 5. So you'd have these wise men that came from the east, because you had Israelites all over. So they know and expect the coming of Yahawashi. You didn't have to be in Israel to expect.
So book of Acts chapter 2 and verse number 5. And it reads, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
Right, so there were Jews out of every nation under heaven. Let's go to verse 9 and see what nations these men were in.
Verse 9, Parthians and Medes and Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and Cappadocia, in Pontus and Asia, Phrygia.
So even that, the Parthians. Where's Parthians? Let's get Parthia real quick. All right. See how far the Jews were coming out from. Jews were coming out of the land of the Parthians and the Elamites. That's how far east. P-A-R-T. But the Parthians, but that's a spirit because it's in that region.
Yeah.
So the Parthians, the Jews were in that land all the way in the east. Right? So this was the east at that time, the Parthians in the land of the Elamites. That's, I mean, yeah, for lack of time, we just deal with that. But this one here. All right, because that'll be the Parthians and the Elamites. Or if we can get up the Roman Empire, actually, then it could probably look a bit better. And you see the prophecy. So you can see the Parthians, right? They go up there. You can see the lands that they was living in, that they traveled from. You see it? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you look at that, the red one, that image there, of the Roman Empire, then you can see where the Israelites were coming from. And it just says these were Jews that were coming out from these lands. Right? They came out all the way to Israel, which is a large journey. They will come to keep Pentecost. So if you're not trying to keep these commandments, hey man, our brothers are doing that. Right? Because the commandment is, no matter where you come from, you go and appear before the Lord at Pentecost. And they were keeping that, saying, nah, you know what, that's too far. No, man, they kept that. Which means they would have had to prepare. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 16. They came from wherever they were, they dropped their things, and they made sure that they kept the commandments because they were Jews living in Parthia and Elam. That wasn't a hindrance to them because that's the law, they kept it.
So book of Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. They shall not appear before the Lord empty.
Right, so the Feast of Weeks is also called the Pentecost, right? Because Pentecost is 50, and 7 weeks after the first day is going to, before the last day is going to be 50, right? 7 times 7, 49, plus the extra will be 50. So that's your Feast of Weeks, and the males will always come to appear before the Lord. Doesn't matter where they came from, they will come from all types of lands. And they didn't have planes in the Book of Flight. They didn't get British Airways, Ryanair. They didn't fly by Ryanair and EasyJet. They came nonetheless. They made an effort. Let's get to Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27 as well. They made an effort to keep the feast days. You can't just, feast days coming around and you're just thinking about it like the day before. Oh, God, Passover's tomorrow, innit? The day before Passover's tomorrow, innit? Oh, what are we going to do? What do you mean Passover's tomorrow, innit? And you're asking, you're checking dates. You're checking, dates. Or you missed it, right? Passover just passed and you just, when was Passover again? What, yesterday? You're not serious, man. Let's get that.
It's book of Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 27. Prepare thy work without, and make it fit for thyself in the field, and afterwards build thine house.
Right. So the Most High does a preparation, right? Not slackness of hands, slothfulness, right? Being slothful is not being prepared, right? Not being prepared for feast days, not being prepared to keep the commandments. You got to put yourself in a position. A lot of people, they make provisions for the flesh, putting things around them that's going to cause them to go into envy, go into pride, go into lust. You put them things around them. Put things around you that's going to make you prepared to keep the feast days, prepared to keep the commandments, right? Have, Bibles around you, have books, right? Have things that are going to help you put yourself in the mindset to keep the commandments. Be acquainted with the calendars, man. Be acquainted with things that's going to help you persevere in the truth and do the commandments and not be caught out sleeping, slothful. Oh, what? Sabbath already? Man, I didn't even get anything, What do you mean you didn't even get anything? Prepare, man. That's what 6 days are for. What is he doing for 6 days? Sleeping. Now on the Sabbath day, eating biscuits, man. All right, because he didn't prepare for the Sabbath. All right, eating biscuits, nothing else. All right, because he didn't prepare. He just munching on biscuits all day. You ain't got no food, and now you're just hungry. Now you just I'm so hungry. I'm just gonna sleep off the whole Sabbath. You just sleep in the whole Sabbath because you didn't get anything. You're holding your tummy, just rolling in your bed because you ain't got no food because you didn't prepare. Prepare, man. Let's get Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 6. You have to prepare, man. That's what our forefathers are doing. They prepared themselves to keep the feast days. They prepared themselves for the coming of Yahawashi. We have to prepare ourselves for the coming of Yahawashi. Ben came from the east, right, and made provisions for how they're going to get there. So you got to do. Oh yeah, feast days on this day. This is the location. How am I going to get there? You know, how am I going to get back? You don't have that that Eve at the club spirit. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna go to the club, and then you know what? I don't know how I'm gonna get back. What do you mean you don't know how you're gonna get back? You know how you're gonna get back.
Yeah.
All right. You know. That's why you don't know. If you know. All right. Let's get that.
So book of Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise.
All right. Consider her ways and be wise. What's her ways? What's the ways of her ant?
Which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer.
Right. Provideth her meat in the summer. So before the time that, sunset hits on Friday, you should prepare. Prepare for that. Before Passover coming up, prepare for that. How do you prepare for that? Get that leaven out your spirit, man. Actually think upon the things of Yahawashi. That's how you prepare, man. You gotta prepare. Don't be caught out. The feast day hits and what's this feast day about again? What's this Sabbath thing? You ain't got enough fringes, right? And now you're waiting until you run out of fringes. They're all in the washing, and it's like, oh man, you should have got some before, man. Don't put yourself in a position to be caught out. That's being slothful, right? If you have, obviously, sometimes things happen, but if you have the means and you have the ability, prepare yourself so you're not complaining afterwards. Afterwards, you're saying, oh man, I should have done this, I should have done that, right? I should have prepared better. Yeah, you should have. So do it. Do it now, man. Do it while we have time, while we have another day. Prepare better, man. Don't be slothful. Do the things that we need to prepare ourselves for this truth, man. For all the commandments that we have to keep. Preparing for the coming of Yahawashi. All right. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 2, verse 3. And this is what these men did. They prepared themselves for the coming of Yahawashi. They were looking out and they found the star. The star showed them, and that star was a chariot. The chariot showed them, and they came to worship Yahawashi.
Matthew chapter 2 and verse number 3. And it reads, when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him.
All right, Herod the king. Why would Herod, right, be troubled because people are coming? Three men are coming and saying, "Oh yeah, we heard the King of the Jews is to be born, and we've come to worship him." Why would he be troubled? He rules the whole. You just be like, "What? Who are these men, man?" So these weren't just some any people, right? When you go into the Greek for wise men, let's get the blue letter and go into the Greek for wise men. You can see that in Matthew 2. They weren't just any people. These actually were high level people. That's partially why Christian scholars try to attribute this as kings. They weren't kings. I'm led to believe they said that because they didn't want to deal with the fact that Israelites are all over the world. That should be language.
Strong's G 3097, Magos. Magos.
So our biblical usage is magus, the name given by the Babylonians, Chaldeans, Medes, Persians, and others to the wise men, teachers, priests, physicians, astrologers, seers, interpreters of dreams, augurs, soothsayers, sorcerers, etc. The Oriental wise men, astrologers, who having discovered by the rising of a remarkable star that the Messiah had just been born, came to Jerusalem to worship him. See a false prophet and sorcerer.
So it's pretty much what Daniel was, right? This is the position that Daniel had, right? He was able to go into dreams, interpret them, and then you get that's why Daniel was brought onto Nebuchadnezzar, because he was able to interpret dreams and he was deemed a man of high wisdom. So he would have like a similar title to that, right? So you had Israelites in that office and in that position of being a teacher or being an interpreter of dreams, right? Let's go to Psalms 94, verse 10. So you had Herod the king, man. He's worried because there's another king in town. People are coming to say, look, there's a new king in town and we've come to worship him. So he's getting troubled. But if he had his land in order and he was the real king, then he would have nothing to worry about. But he's worried, man. He's shaking in his boots. But how does he even know in the first place?
Current book of Psalms, chapter 94 and verse number 10. And it reads, he that chastiseth the heathen, shall he not correct? He that teacheth man knowledge, shall not he know?
Verse 20.
Psalms 94 and verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law?
Right, the throne of iniquity. Herod, he was on the throne of iniquity. That's why he was king, right? So this is Herod the Great. You got different Herods in the Bible. Not every Herod is the same, right? Herod is a title that the kings of Judah who were ruling over the land, that were heathens, that came from the Edomites, that they would take upon themselves, right? They were sitting on the throne of iniquity, but Yahawashi, he's sitting on the throne of grace. He's sitting on the throne of mercy. He's sitting on the throne that the Most High has bestowed upon him, right? The throne of David. And King Herod, he tried to sit on that throne, but is really on the throne of iniquity, right? Which frameth mischief by our Lord. And that's what he's doing, right? He's coming to hear about why these people are coming in to find the King of the Jews, and he puts out an evil decree, man. All right, let's read the next verse.
Right. Verse 21, they gathered themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemned the innocent blood.
Right, that's Herod, man. He gathered together to for the soul of the righteous. We really gathered together. Let's go to Matthew chapter 2 and verse 4. He's going into Herod, man. So-called great.
The book of Matthew chapter 2 and verse number 4. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and the scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Hamashiach should be born.
All right, so he gathered the people together to find the soul of the righteous. All right, let's go down to verse 13.
Matthew 2 and verse 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
All right, they came for the soul of the righteous. They came for Yahawashi, coming to kill a young child. Now, what kind of sick, perverse man, right, is just so worried about this specific young child, right? Because he knows about the the coming of Yahawashi, and he's worried because he knows that in the prophecy that he's gonna his throne is gonna be taken down. But how does he know that? Right? How does it? Let's get Herod the Great. Let's look at Herod the Great real quick. We only say in the great just so we can distinguish the one, but that's what it's called.
Jewish stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's Herod the Great on Wikipedia. It says Herod the First, or Herod the Great, 72 BCE to 4 BCE, was a Roman Jewish client king of the Herodian Kingdom of Judea. He is known for his colossal building projects throughout Judea. Among these works are the rebuilding of the Second Temple in Jerusalem and the expansion of its base.
So he just proudly added onto the temple, man. He just proudly added onto it.
The Western Wall being part of it. Vital details of his life are recorded in the works of the 1st century CE Roman Jewish historian Josephus.
Let's get on Revelation chapter 12 and then verse 4. All right, going into Herod the Great. All right, so this man, he was a king at the time. We're going to go into how he even got to that position real quick. Let's get that.
So book of Revelation chapter 12 and verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
So he's that dragon that stood before the woman. He's the woman, Mary. So he stood before Mary, right, who was about to be delivered, for the child was about to be born. Right, and drew. This is not going into Lucifer, man. Lucifer just coming down with all the angels down to the ground. Right, because how does that? What's that got to do with the woman that's meant to be delivered? Where's that in that account? Right, this is that third part of the stars of heaven. Right, those are the Israelites that were destroyed, man, and cast down. Right, trying to find Yahawashi. This is King Herod trying to find Yahawashi. And he's cast down the third parts of the stars of heaven, which is us. We're the stars of heaven. Let's get Daniel chapter 12 and verse 3.
So book of Daniel chapter 12 and verse number 3. And it reads, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many righteousness, and they that turn to righteousness as the stars forever and ever.
God. So man can be like stars in righteousness. So if you cast down the stars of heaven, you can be casting down men. Let's go to Genesis chapter 37 and then start verse 9.
So book of Genesis chapter 37 and verse number 9. And it reads, and he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obedience to me.
So Joseph, he dreamed a dream, and it says the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to him. So who's that sun, the moon, and the 11 stars in this dream that, can parabolically represent something else? Obviously, because it's a dream. The sun and the moon and the stars are not literally going to come down onto Joseph and obey him. When did that ever happen? Right? Because this is a dream. It's true. It's from the Most High. So it's going to happen, or had actually happened. When is the account of a sun coming down from the heaven, just taking the day off to just come and submit under Joseph? That didn't happen. Let's read on. Verse
10, and he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him.
Right, his father rebuked him because his father is who? Jacob, right? Israel. And he knew and understood. Right? He wasn't a simple guy. He was like, oh, yeah, don't know what that's going into. Right? He knew what he was going into, but he didn't really understand why he had it, right? Because that was for Joseph and that was his lot. But Jacob or Israel, he understood the dream. He understood the interpretation of it, and he's going to even break it down as well. Go on.
And said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth?
Right, so he tells you, he says, I and thy mother and thy brethren. So I is the son, right? This because the son is a male, has male connotations to it. Let's hold that and then go to Sirach chapter 43, start at verse 1. It says, I and thy mother and thy brethren. So the mother is obviously a female, and the moon has female connotations too. Right, so that's why the sun and the moon, that would represent Rachel, which is the mother of Joseph and Jacob.
It's the book of Sirach 43 and verse 1. The pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven with his glorious show.
With his glorious show. So the sun has male connotations to it, right? It operates in the spirit of a man. Let's go to verse 6.
Verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and the sign of the world.
So the moon to serve in her season, because the moon, right, has female connotations to it. So the sun and the moon that Jacob understood to be him and his mother, Joseph's mother, Rachel. And then it says this, and thy brethren, that's the 11 stars. So the stars are the brethren of Israel. Right, so let's go back to Revelation chapter 12 and verse 4 to see what those stars are. It's not speaking about Lucifer, man, coming down with the third part of heaven. Right, with a third of the angels came down from heaven. That's not the breakdown for that.
This book of Revelation chapter 12 and verse number
4.
Verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered.
All right, so those stars that were cast down are the children of Israel. Let's get another one. Let's get Sirach chapter 50. We'll start verse 1. All right. We're not dealing with that Lucifer doctrine, of just coming down into heaven and just doing what he wanted to do. Having a fight with God. He had a fight with God and said, no, I'm not playing music anymore. I want to be like you. And he had a fight and he got banished down to the earth. That's not what happened, man. Some mythology is making up stories. That's not even in the Bible, man. Right? And then there was these mythical giants, man. It was making up stories. It's not in the scriptures. Christians got time to make up stories that are not in the scriptures, but won't even deal with, or say the scriptures itself, those are not important. But Lucifer coming down with the third of heaven, that's important. That's not even in there. Just making up stuff, man. It's like, yeah, you got that.
The book of Sirach, chapter 50 and verse 1. Simon the high priest, the son of Ananias, who in his life repaired the house again, and in his days fortified the temple.
Simon the high priest. Are you going to go into that time period, right, of Simon the high priest? Let's go down to verse 6 and see how Simon the high priest was spoken.
Verse 6. How was he honored in the midst of the people? Verse 6. He was as the morning star in the midst of a cloud, and as the moon at the full.
Right. He was at the morning star. Right. So even Simon the high priest, he was as a morning star. The brothers of the children of Israel, the Israelites, are known as stars. Right. All throughout the Bible, they're known and referred to as stars. So the stars that were cast down were those that were killed in the hunt of Herod to find Yahawashi. Right. And even says as the moon at the full. It didn't say as the moon at the new. Right? Because why don't you just say as a new moon? Right? If the full moon is the new moon. it says at the moon at the full. It could have said as he was shining like the new moon. Let's go back to Revelation 12, verse 5.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse number 5. And it reads, and she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron.
So, but deal with that, man. Yahawashi has come to rule all nations, but he's also a ruler in Israel. Right? So the Israelites would obviously, through the inheritance, have to rule those nations too, with him. Are we going to be caught up with him? What's going on?
And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne.
Right. So that's when Yahawashi ascended back into heaven after he died. Right. So verse 4 and 5 is going together, speaking about Herod hunting down Yahawashi, Yahawashi being born. He got the inheritance to rule all nations as he was caught up, and he went back onto the heavens. And he's sitting on the right hand of the Most High, Yahweh. Right. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 2. Can't slack it, you can get that real quick. Actually, no, we don't need it.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 2.
And let's read verse, the last one we was on. Read it one more time.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 2 and verse number 4. But Matthew 2 and verse, no, can't, verse 5. And it says, and they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet.
Right, so they said unto him, who the wise men said unto him, they're speaking about in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet. Because it's like the priests and scribes said unto him, because so everyone knew about the coming of Yahawashi. So when Yahawashi he was there, the scribes and the Pharisees, they were acting like he wasn't the Lord, when really they knew what was going on. All right, Ananias, Caiaphas, they knew what was going on. Let's read on.
Verse 6, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel.
All right, so what's Herod doing? Getting the breakdowns of the scriptures from the chief priests and the scribes. The chief priests and scribes are going to Herod and giving him, saying, "Yeah, look, this is what it says. You know, it says." He's going to the chief priests and the scribes, wondering why these men are coming looking for the King of the Jews. What's going on? And they're saying, "Yeah, don't you know? It's in the prophets, right? In Micah chapter 5, verse 2, where it says in Bethlehem, that's where Christ is going to come from." So everyone expected and believed that. So these OT onlys, man, right? Everyone at that time period expected the coming of Yahawashi. At this time, it was heightening up, it was raising up, because the Roman Empire was so vast and great in power that, you know, people, it's like, how are we going to get out of this? Same way with the Egyptian bondage. There's no way in their power that you could just go to war against the Egyptians at that time and fight the Egyptians off. They were way too powerful. Remember, the Most High said he raised them up that I might show my power indeed. So the Most High was the deliverance. Same way in this captivity now, in this Egypt, the Most High is going to be the deliverance. It's not going to be us. So people were expecting deliverance. Just as like in the Egyptian captivity, people are crying and sighing for deliverance from that captivity. Right now, we should be crying and sighing for deliverance from this captivity. Right. So we're going to go to, if you can, maybe find like a PDF for Josephus. Go on. We're going to go to, this is the works of Josephus. You can kind of see it on there. The works of Josephus, complete and unabridged. This will be Israelite historian who was working with the Romans. He was working with the Romans and showing the Romans our history, similar to kind of what these chief priests and scribes were doing. Just giving them just giving them all the secrets and stuff. But nevertheless, still a relatively credible source speaking about the history of the Israelites.
Depends what you know.
What was that?
No. What specifically are you looking for?
Okay, chapter 9. Book 13, chapter 9.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just to be able to send in the chat. Really.
Yeah.
Is that the whole thing?
It might be still.
Is that the right book?
Book 1 to 10. I don't know what number that is.
That's a different book. And that's Jewish antiquities. But it's cool. We can get it after. Or maybe, also, if someone has a PDF, just send that in the chat. And if you have the book, we're going into chapter 13, verse 9. Right. I'm going to read it right if you can look for it. I'll just read it. So this is, it might be it. It might be it. This is antiquity for the Jews here, so it might be it. You can check it out one time. I think that might be it as well. But I think it's got I think it's split up. It's not the whole thing. We got book 13. Alright, so this is the works of Josephus, the Antiquities of the Jews, book 13, chapter 9. Alright, it says, how, after the death of Antiochus, Hyrcanus made an expedition against Syria and made a league with the Romans concerning the death of Demetrius and Alexander. So we just came off the feast day for the destruction of Nicanor, and that's speaking about the time of Antiochus when he was reigning, and the people that were deployed under him to go and persecute the children of Israel in the time of the Maccabees. And the Maccabees are responsible for setting up the Hasmonean dynasty. So we should be relatively familiar with that, by now. If not, then you can go back into maybe previous videos that we made to go into that. I'm gonna read from, so it's split up into like little verses. So I'm gonna read from 257. So again, if you do find it, this is the works of Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, book 13, chapter 9. Book 13, chapter 9, and the verse is 257. It says, Hyrcanus took also Dora and Marissa, cities of Idumea, and subdued all the Idumeans, and permitted them to stay in that country. So Hyrcanus, again, he comes from the lineage and line of the Maccabees and the father of the Maccabees. I mean, the Maccabees really one man. It's really Judas, but that whole family kind of just got called the Maccabees. But Maccabees is really just Judas Maccabeus, because that's it wasn't his last name. It was more of a name that was placed upon him, right? Meaning hammer, because he was a mighty warrior. It was really just speaking about him. But his father Maccabeus, right, and all that lineage, right, which was a priestly lineage, became the rulers in Israel during the Hasmonean dynasty. So if you found that, then you can chapter 9, book 13, page 352.
Should I go on chapter 13? I can't close anyway.
So Hyrcanus is John Hyrcanus. So you've got two. You've got John Hyrcanus, and you also got John Hyrcanus the second. So you're dealing with the first one, the first John Hyrcanus, right? And a lot of things happened during his time. So you're not gonna see too much of that in the time of the end of Maccabees, but it kind of sets the first Maccabees will kind of set the premise for that.
It's 9 there.
Okay, then.
Is it this? Something right, man.
That looks familiar, but it seems like
Where did you start from?
is it not Control F? Is it not? Can you find words in it?
Yeah.
Find find Demetrius. I should know it.
Do that. It's like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to go through this. Come on. This is all in chapter 9 still.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
From the top, from the bottom. Here. There you go.
Yeah. So great. So okay. Supply might send it as well. I don't think you did, but we'll just quote it. Okay. Yeah, so from Hyrcanus right
Cool.
there, maybe I put down might get a bit bigger.
Cool.
Zoom in a little bit. Okay, so okay. Alright, so Hyrcanus also took Dora and Marissa, cities of Idumea. So these were places in Idumea. So first, Hyrcanus is going into the Hasmonean dynasty. So if we can get First Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 1.
Oh, look onto the set there.
I think it's just input out. Let's see.
Cool. Yeah.
First Maccabees 2, verse 1.
Okay, it's the book of First Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse number 1. And it reads, In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan, called Cadiz, Simon, called Thasi, Judas, who was called Maccabeus.
So these were the names of his sons. So out of these people, so from Mattathias, out of these people, you had these mighty men. These were the family of Mattathias, and they can also be referred to as the Maccabees. But they're not all Maccabees. Maccabees is really Judas, as we see. Simon, he was called Thasi, right? He's the brother of Judas Maccabeus, right? Let's go to the Hasmonean dynasty just to see the lineage of these people, to how we go from Mattathias to Simon, right, to John. No.
It's local here, you know, as well.
Oh,
And it's
God,
Amalek.
crazy.
Yeah, Amalek thing.
And the Hasmonean dynasty, they were men of war, men of renown. You know, they weren't soft. They didn't have weird squeaky voices. They didn't have weird curls around their necks. You know, they're mighty men, man. Right? Most likely had some locks, man. Right? Because they were priests, and priests couldn't shave their head.
Come.
So here you can see the lineage of John Hyrcanus and why he's important. Because what you see in there is you see how Herod the Great even came into this thing. Right? That's why some accounts will try to call Herod the Great Jewish. Right? For two reasons, really. For two reasons. One of them you can see here, right? Because he's in the so-called lineage of the Levites, man. Does that mean King Herod would be a Levite? Well, let's see, because we go according to what? Your father. Right, let's get Numbers 1 and 18. Is it?
I just realized they're bringing it.
Yeah. Time to pause it.
12, 16. Come. It's the book of Numbers, chapter 1, and verse 18. And it reads, "And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigree after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their posts."
All right, so you got to declare who you are
Excuse me.
by the house of your fathers. Not by the house, not by what wife you marry, not by who your mother is, but by the house of your fathers. So here we see Mattathias. Right, it says revolt leader. Right, that's where you get the word revolution from. So Mattathias, he started a revolution, right, a real revolution, you know, because of what Antiochus was doing upon Israel. And out of him, as the scripture was saying, we just read, you had John, Simon, Judas, Eleazar, and Jonathan. Chiefly, the scriptures will speak about Judas, Simon, and Jonathan. Right, they had a large part to play, as they were all leaders at one particular time for the Israelites in this Hasmonean dynasty. Out of Simon, right? Out of Simon, you then had John. John was the son of Simon, and he became the next in line, the next ruler in around 135 BC. Let's go back to the Josephus. And see where it's talking about it. So after Simon died, John Hyrcanus came in to be the ruler. So you have Mattathias, then Judas, right? Simon, Jonathan, Simon, and John Hyrcanus. Right. So
let's read from it again.
Yeah.
Hyrcanus also took Dora and Marisa, cities of Idumea, and subdued all the Idumeans and permitted them to stay in that country.
Right, so there were Idumeans, right? There were Idumeans living in that place. Let's go to 1 Maccabees, chapter 5, and verse 3.
So book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 5, and verse number 3.
So let's start verse 1, get the context. So let's start verse 1 and get the context. This is after the dedication of the temple, the dedication of the altar of the temple. It was dedicated. The heathens didn't want to see that, right? They didn't want to see that, you know, we could get back on our own 2 feet, because the other nations, they were being subject to these Greeks, man. They didn't want to see that we were building ourselves back up and we could have our temple again, right? We had, you know, a kingdom again. They didn't want to see that. They want to hear that. This is right after that. Yeah, go on.
1 Maccabees 5 and verse number 1. Now when the nations round about heard that the altar was built and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much.
It displeased them very much, man. Go on.
Wherefore they fought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them, and thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people.
So we couldn't get no rest, man. Just came off keeping the first feast of dedication right? And as soon as he stopped, like, back to these heathen stressing us, man. And it's just like us, man. Keep the feast days, back to work, back to these heathen, man, just trying to destroy you. Let's go up to First Maccabees 4, verse 61, real quick.
It's the book of First Maccabees, chapter 4 and verse 61. And they set their garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea.
Right, because Idumea was vexing Israel, man. Right, because you had these Edomites that would, Esau left the land of Edom as we went into the Babylonian captivity, but they decided, when we came back into Israel, to go back into Edom, because they knew that that time that was their homeland. Let's go to First Maccabees 5, verse 3.
Come on, First Maccabees 5 and verse 3. Then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabataim, because they besieged Israel, and he gave them a great overthrow and abated their courage and took their spoils.
All right, so Judas, he was at war with the Edomites in the land of Edom. That doesn't mean that the Greeks and the Romans were Edomites, right? These are specific set of Edomites that were just loyal to their homeland at that time, because it wasn't a long time since they left that place. So, all right. Let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 10 and verse 15.
2 Maccabees 10 and 15. It's the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 10 and verse number 15. And it reads, and therewithal the Idumeans, having gotten into the holds, the most commodious holds, kept the Jews occupied, and receiving those that were banished from Jerusalem, they went about to nourish war.
So you had these Edomites, man, that was going back and forth, vexing the children of Israel, and Judas is going to war against them, right? So even after, because they continue to vex our people, even after that, we still had wars with them. And the reason why we would have wars with them is because the land of Edom, and if you can get the map of Israel and see how the land of Edom, it borders Israel. So that's why, they was kind of battling, just like the Edomites are battling right now. They're battling in that land right now. All right, if you have ears to hear, man. So I think you can't say too much, so I just, you should be able to work it out, man. The Edomites are battling right now, man. One that will show, I think. Yeah. Okay. All right, so you can see how Edom is bordering Israel, right up next to it, and they were at war, trying to go to war with Judas, man, and the mighty men of Israel. So that war continued to go on, right? Because Esau, he's vowed to have war with us from the beginning. From as soon as he sold his birthright and the blessing was given unto us, he vowed to have war with us continually. All right, so that continued all the way to the time of John Hyrcanus. All right, so let's go back to the Josephus and then read on a bit more.
Cool. So it reads, and permitted them to stay in the country if they would submit to circumcision and make use of the laws of the Jews.
Right. So he was able to overthrow them and got to the point of subduing them, having them subject, and said that they're going to now have to submit and be circumcised and keep the laws that we're keeping. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that part. Right. Some people think, the laws, it's only for us. The laws, it's not only for us, the laws are for everyone. Right. We're meant to be keeping it so we can show other people how to keep it. It's not just, oh yeah, we're going to be Why would you want the rest of the world in sin? That's weird. If you're an Israelite and you just think we're just meant to be righteous and everybody else is just meant to be in sin and you want it to be that way, that's weird. Why would you want everyone eating pork around you? Why would you want fornication happening around you? Saying, oh, that's the heathen, that's what they do. Like, would you rather them not do that? They're blowing smoke in your face saying, oh, you're a heathen anyway, it's fine. No, man, they shouldn't be doing that. So they're gonna get the crumbs of the law. They're gonna have to keep it, man. Right? So the Edomites, not all of them, just those that were dwelling in the land of Idumea at that time, right? They were subdued, circumcised, and they agreed because they were under Israel at that time, again, to keep the laws. Let's read on a bit more.
And make use of the laws of the Jews, and they were so desirous of living in the country of their forefathers that they submitted to the rite of circumcision and the rest of the Jewish ways of living at that time. Wherefore this befell them, that they were hereafter no other than the Jews.
Right. So they submitted to the use of circumcision, right, and the rest of the Jewish ways of living. So this is what's called naturalization. Let's look up naturalization. The same way we were naturalized to Greek customs, same way you can become naturalized to these lands if you're not from here. If you're from another country, you have to get naturalized to this country. Let's get like I mean, anyone probably do, but
it says
Wikipedia one's kind of alright.
naturalization is the legal act or process by which a non-national of a country acquires the nationality of that country after birth.
Right, so the term nationality, ethnic group, and race and stuff, it's all just wide and vaguely just thrown around to the left and to the right, But this type of nationality, because you ask people who say nationality in the UK, I think it's kind of different to what people in America deem nationality. But here, nationality is like your citizenship. Because when you go on your passport, say nationality is talking about your citizenship. So this naturalization is talking about citizenship, right? So every country deals with naturalization. They deal with people that are from another land and how they would be treated if they come into the land or desire to come into the land or desire to be outside of the land and be under your empire, right? So we basically had a little empire right now. And we had Esau, the Edomites, and the Edom. They were under our empire. They were right next to us, kind of colonized them, right? Righteousness. Let's read on a little bit more.
The definition
of this from here. That sense on.
It usually involves an application or a motion and approval by legal authorities.
All right. So it usually involves application or motion. Right, so the legal authorities here was High Canaans, right, to authorize that Esau was to be circumcised and keep the laws of the Jews. So when in doing that, that was the application. They didn't have to fill out a form, fill out like a 50-page document, and put in their passport number, their national insurance number, put in all of their details, apply for a visa and stuff like that. They didn't have to do all of that. You want to be, if you want to be subject to us, where's the papers? Where's the papers? And Esau, all the Edomites had to get all their papers. They didn't have to do that. They had a motion. Their motion to be approved was to be circumcised and keep our laws. Then you can be next to us, and we're not going to destroy you anymore. But if you're not going to get circumcised, you're not going to keep our laws, we will continue going to war with you. Right? Every nation does that, man. But there's a righteous way about going about it. And that's what we was doing. Let's read on a bit more.
The rules of naturalization vary from country to country.
Exactly. So we had Israelite naturalization, you had heathen naturalization. We are people who keep our treaties, man. We keep our peace treaties. If we say we're going to be at peace with you, that we're going to be at peace with you, right? You're not going to go to war with the people that are at peace. That would actually be off. Let's get that in Deuteronomy chapter 20. That's actually off. Like, if someone's at peace with you, people might be seeing this thinking, nah, I just want to destroy all the heathen all day, every day. That's not what this truth is about, man. I'm just here to destroy the heathen. That's it. Why are you in this truth? I just want to destroy the heathen. Oh man, what are you? Some expendable? Let's get Deuteronomy 20 and verse 10.
It's book of Deuteronomy chapter 20 and verse 10, and it reads, "When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it."
Right, when you go into people to fight against them, right, you got to see if that person is in peace. You can't just see someone, so if you see heathen just peacefully going about their business, and now you're finding war with them, right? That's not the commandments, man. You just go to war with anyone and anything that's at peace with you, right? Someone comes to you saying, you know what? Let's read the next verse first.
Verse 11, "And it shall be, if it make thee answer of peace and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee."
And they shall what?
They shall serve thee.
All right, it doesn't mean we're all one together. It says if there's another nation, another people, right, and they agree with your laws, they agree with your way of life, they agree with things, they have an answer of peace, then they shall serve thee. They shall be under thee. They shall be subdued, and they shall give tributary, right, which is a taxation or any type of form of goods that they can provide, to give unto you as an act of subjugation. Let's read on.
And if it, verse 12, "And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it."
All right. If there's no peace, then you besiege it. You don't just go about besieging cities that are at peace like Esau does. You just find reasons. You don't agree with democracy. You just doing madness, man, in Afghanistan. All right. And fighting on both sides. You're with the Taliban and then you're against them at the same time. Esau's wicked, man. All right. And that's why these nations are coming against you, Esau. Right? Because you don't keep your words of peace. Let's get that in Psalms 55, verse 19.
It's the book of Psalms chapter 55 and verse number 19. And it reads, "God shall hear and afflict them, even he that abideth of old. Selah, because they have no changes, therefore they fear not God. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him."
See that? Go, keep the laws, man. He puts forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. Right? We are people, we have to keep our word, man. If someone's at peace with us, you don't go and besiege them and go to war with them, man. Someone, look, I ain't trying to hurt you, I hear what you're doing, cool, and you just go into war with them. That's off, man.
He hath broken his covenant.
So we made, a deal with this heathen. We made a deal with the Edomites at this time, right? This is before Yahawashi, right? As a reminder, we made a deal with them that we're going to be, and before the Roman Empire even, that we're going to be peaceable with them, and the covenant we made, which is, there's our side of the bargain and there's their side of the bargain. They had to be circumcised and keep the laws and be tributaries unto us and serve us. That's what the Edomites were doing again, and that's what they will do in the kingdom. Right? Whoever's there and ruling in Israel, most I will, and we make it. Got some people say, "No, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be there." All right, most I will, we're there. Whoever is there, hey, guess what? Your reward is that you're gonna have these heathen and subjugation, and then they're gonna be tributaries unto you. All right. Let's reverse Actually, that's it. Right, that's it. That's it on that as well. Let's read the last. This sentence. That was sentence.
The rules of naturalization vary from country to country, but typically include a promise to obey and uphold that country's laws.
Exactly. So every nation deals with that. Every nation, they typically involve, okay, if you want to be in our country, you got to keep our laws. So while we're in the UK, or while you're in France, while you're in Italy, while you're in America, while you're wherever you are, you're naturalized. You have to keep the laws that are in that line because you already made an agreement to do. And you got to keep your end of the bargain. Because if you don't, then they go to war with you. How? They're going to chuck you into prison. Right? And we want to be free as long as possible so that we can do the work of the Most High. You don't want to just throw yourself into prison and say, yeah, I'll bring it out in there anyway. Like, it's not wise to do that. Right? There's a bit more.
Okay. But typically include a promise to obey and uphold that country's laws and taking and subscribing to an oath of allegiance.
Right. And in this case, this was their circumcision. That was their oath, because an oath is like a token, right? So their token of their allegiance was that they're circumcised, because that's a hefty thing to do, man. And that's what they all did.
And may specify other requirements such as a minimum legal residency and adequate knowledge of the national dominant language or culture.
Right. So this is what Herod had. Herod came from the Idumeans, right? We read that, I believe, right? When we went into Herod the Great, he was an Idumean. And so him being an Idumean, he was a people that were subjugated in that land for really around 100 or so years. They were subjugated in that land, and they came from a people that from John Hyrcanus was made tributaries and made to serve the Israelites and also to have adequate knowledge. And that's what you have to do. I believe you have a citizenship test where you have to learn, like, who the queens are and who the kings are and stuff like that. You have to learn certain knowledge of that land and of that place if you wanted to really be dealt with on any type of level. And that's what these people that were living in Edom had to go under John Hyrcanus. That's called naturalization. So therefore, they could have, they could be referred to. That's why they might be referred to as like Jewish at that time, because they were naturalized. So you have obviously I don't know if I can say that, but Jewish people can also go into people who are naturalized. I'll just put it like that. Jewish people can be going into people who are naturalized, who are people who learn about the customs, learn about the laws, and then they got well acquainted with it, and therefore they became, let's go to Esther chapter 8 and verse 17. This is why, people get, spiritual Jews and stuff like that. It becomes very confusing. You can't just be a spiritual Jew, but you can become naturalized into the kingdom, right? So, in the kingdom, people are gonna have their own nations that they come from, but they're gonna be under the kingdom of Hamashiach Yahawashi.
It's the book of Esther, chapter 8 and verse 17. And in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
Right. So what's the fear of the Jews fell upon them? Meaning they became subject to them. If the fear of something is upon you, if you fear something, you're under it. Right? Because we fear the Most High. And if you fear the Most High, what's the fear of God, man? Right? To keep the laws. So what's the fear of the Jews? To keep the laws. So when the fear of the Jews came upon them, right? People started keeping the laws of the Jews, right? And that's why it says they became Jews, because it's talking about they became naturalized into the way of the Jews. They didn't just change their nationality or change their race, I'll say, right? For maybe easier terms. They didn't change their race. Oh yeah, I'm just, I'm just Chinese now. I'm just, I just feel like it. I've watched a few kung fu movies that makes me Chinese. And you got that wicked guy, man, that M.R, man, whatever his name is, man, saying, yeah, I'm more Jamaican than you. You're an Edomite, man. Shut up. So I'm like, yeah, I'm Jamaican. Because you listen to Shabba Ranks now. That make you Jamaican, man. Right? That means because I watched Fist of Fury and End the Dragon, I'm Chinese. I don't work like that, man. Right? So it's talking about becoming naturalized. So yeah, people that were not Israelites in the Persian Empire, even then, right, they're following the laws, being circumcised, will be referred to as becoming Jew, or some scholars will call it Jewish. So that's why you may see the term Jewish today. It's like, oh, why do they call themselves Jews? They're saying that really because they became naturalized, and then because we lost our heritage, now they're just proud and just assuming, we're the only real Jews around now. So, we just, I don't want to say more on that, but, that's how it goes. All right, that's how it goes. Let's also get Judith, chapter 14. So people would, what was that?
No, we never actually read this part.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So do you want Judith first?
We can get that first.
So this is Herod the Great biography. It says Herod was born around 72 BCE in Idumea, south of Judea. He was the second son of Antipater the Idumean, a high-ranking official under Ephnarach, Hyrcanus II, and Cyrapose, a Nabatean Arab princess from Petra in present-day Jordan. Herod's father was by descent an Edomite. His ancestors had converted to Judaism. He was raised as a Jew.
There you go. Right? He was an Edomite, converted to Judaism. Right? So he submitted himself to the kingdom of Judea. Right? Being an Edomite. That's what his ancestors did. So because of that, he was then elected by the Romans, I believe, in the time of Mark Antony, I'm led to believe, chose him to be the one to be king over Judea when the Romans came into Israel and just took down the Hasmonean dynasty, which was already breaking apart from the inside because of the madness going on inside. Let's get Judith, chapter 14. And come on, verse 8. Chapter 14, verse 6.
So book of Judith, chapter 14 and verse 6. Then verse 5. But before ye do these things, call me Achior the Ammonite, that they may see and know that know him that despised the house of Israel, and that sent him to us, as it were to his death.
So Achior the Ammonite, right? So he saw what happened to his leader and was like, nah, I ain't with these man. I ain't with these man no more. I see who the Most High is. I see who the power of the world is really working with. I'm trying to be where. I say there's that term: if you can't beat them, join them. Right? This Ammonite said, "No, I can't beat these guys. I'm gonna join them." Let's go to verse 10.
Verse 10. And when Achior had seen all that the God of Israel had done, he believed in God greatly, and circumcised the flesh of his foreskin, and was joined unto the house of Israel unto this day.
All right, does that mean he just changed his race now? His skin started getting darker, and his hair started getting coilier, and his locks started growing, and he started becoming a man now, and just his eyes started fixing, and just all types of stuff. Oh man, his eyes started fixing. He started keeping the laws. He got circumcised. So that's what people would do. They'll get circumcised. They'll keep the laws of the land. right? And then you get naturalized into that place. So that's what happened. If you can go to the lineage. So the lineage there.
That's a transracial.
The Hasmonean dynasty lineage. And you see now how Herod the Great came into it. So Hyrcanus, John Hyrcanus, is responsible for naturalizing these Edomites. And out of these Edomites came Herod the Great. Herod the Great came out of these Edomites. Why? Because they were keeping the laws and they were well acquainted with the Lord. And because he was well acquainted with the Lord and the prophets being raised up around the scriptures, he knew about the coming of Yahawashi. He was expecting it and he was scared about that. So you can see there the John Hyrcanus, and from there you got Aristobulus and Alexander, right? And then you got Hyrcanus II, and then you got Antigonus II, and then you got Asteribolus III, then and Mariam. So Herod, he got in there by marrying Mariam, right? Who would, if you're, if you're dealing with the father and the seed of the father, it wouldn't make him king. But because how the Romans do things, they would say, yeah, if you marry the woman who's the queen, then you marry into the family. So you try to apply a Roman concept of marrying into the family of the Israelites, right? So if you're on the zoo, go in the Hasmonean dynasty lineage, right? And then you can see the lineage from Mattathias all the way down to Herod the Great. He's not a direct descendant of those people, but he married one of the daughters of those people. And then, as you see, you have what's called the Herodian dynasty, where he basically made claim to the heritage of the Hasmonean dynasty by marrying one of our people. And that's why you don't do that. You don't give your daughters unto these other people, as the Most High told us to do. And this is why, because that's what they sought to do. They sought to say, well, look, I got all your inheritance now, right? Because, let's go to Numbers 36. Let's say, you don't have any daughters. You don't have any sons. Who does your inheritance go to? I think I'm on verse 7.
So book of Numbers, chapter 36 and verse 7. Shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe? For every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers.
And that's what they were doing that originally. It was Levites upon Levites, priests upon priests. So now Herod the Great, he's kind of trying to become the priest and the king of the land, man, right? By trying to marry into that family. So again, he's a straight Edomite, and say, oh, Herod, he was an Israelite, right? Just going off, man. No scholarship, no precepts, right? He's an Edomite married into the family of the Israelites. Let's read verse 8 as well.
And every daughter that possesseth an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel, shall be wife unto one of the family of the tribe of her father, that the children of Israel may enjoy every man the inheritance of his fathers.
Right. That's not saying that women have to marry someone from their tribe. It's saying if you're an only daughter, then you should marry someone from your tribe. All right. So, she shouldn't have done that, man. She should not have done that, right? Because she just caused a whole heap of madness to occur. All right. So again, Hyrcanus, as you see, naturalized the people. Esau rose up as we went down, as usual, and came in and was chosen to be the king of Judea, because he was well acquainted with the laws, knew the land, knew the people, and so some people would then at least be able to receive him. Some wicked people. Let's go to 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, and then verse 10 or 11. See verse 11.
Book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Right, so there's righteous covenants that you can make with the heathen, and there's wicked covenants that you can make. The righteous ones you make is that they have to be subjugated, they have to be under you, keep your laws, right? They be tributaries unto you. That's not what these men were trying to do. They were trying to be on the other side. They said, no, let's be tributaries unto them and serve them. That's wicked, man, right? You got to keep the laws of the Most High. You're saying, all right, let's keep their laws, forsake our laws, and get uncircumcised. That's evil. All right, let's go to Acts chapter 26 and verse 3. So at this time, you know, the Romans have become well acquainted with the laws. Let's look up as well the Herodian dynasty. All right, so now we see how Herod came into the Israelite kingdom, referred to as the Hasmonean dynasty, from Mattathias, and tried to say, yeah, I kind of got a claim to the throne now. But really, this is an Edomite kingdom set up over the Israelites, who received them because he was raised up in the laws. And that's why he anticipated the coming of Yahawashi, because he was acquainted with the laws, he was acquainted with the prophecies.
That's off. Yeah. Come on. Acts 26.
Right, so you can see, right, you have Herod the Great, right, and then going down, you have Herod, Philip, who kind of maybe forgot time of going to, and then going down, right, from Aristobulus, you've got Herod Agrippa, right, and Herod Agrippa II. So let's go to Acts 26, and let's start at verse 1,
Okay.
Salakia, for the context, right? So Agrippa, he's not, it says it's called King Agrippa, right? But he's not king of the Roman Empire, right? Because you had the Caesars, who was emperors at that time, but under that you had kingdoms within the Roman Empire, and King Agrippa, he's the king, is the king at the time, right? Of Judea. So
Come on. So book of Acts chapter 26 and verse 1. Then Agrippa said unto Paul, Thou art permitted to speak for thyself. Then Paul stretched forth the hand and answered for himself, I think myself happy, King Agrippa, because I shall answer for myself this day before touching all the things whereof I am accused of the Jews.
Right. He was happy to go before Agrippa, as opposed to the Caesars, or as opposed to the Romans, the Edomites, who didn't know about anything to do with the scriptures. He would rather go forth towards Agrippa. Why? Because they're part of the Herodian dynasty, and the Edomites, who were naturalized and referred to themselves as Jewish. So these, hopefully this is okay to say, but these are the original Edomite Jewish people. I think that's clean. But I think I can say these are the original Edomite Jewish people. All right. Let's read on verse 3.
Verse 3. Especially because I know thee to be an expert in all customs and questions which are among the Jews. Wherefore I beseech thee to hear me patiently.
All right, so he was an expert. How could he be an expert? Because they were raised up in this thing. So these Edomites, they were well acquainted with the scriptures, with the prophets, right? And even Paul knew that he was an expert. So it wasn't just, they didn't have any dealings. They very well knew. They were reading the Bible, man. They had their hands in it. They were learning from our people that will go, these Pharisees and these chiefs, these scribes and these chief priests. They will go unto them and give them the breakdowns, man, and tell them, look, this is what's really going on. Just like right now, there's probably some scribes right now, right, not of us, but of these nations, writing down all the breakdowns and then going up to the heathen saying, yeah, this is what they're saying. They're linking this precept up with this one, and they're saying that the Edomites are these people. See, this is what they're saying. They're saying, they're saying we're living in this seal. They're saying this is going to happen after. Yeah, they know our plans. They're doing that, right? The same spirit that was on the earth then, where they would Herod would gather together all of the people to get the breakdowns. There's a group of people that the elites of this world are getting breakdowns from, who are taken from the scriptures and taken from the Israelites, man, to understand what's going on. Because they're not going to be able to go into themselves. And maybe there's some wicked Israelites out there that are selling out as well, man. Saying, oh yeah, I'm leaving the truth. No, you're not. Some Edomite came and paid you, right, and said, yeah, look, leave the truth and I'll pay you this, and just give us all those breakdowns. Give us your notes. give us those notes.
Wild Bill spirit.
Yeah, man. Let's go down to verse 14. All right, so King Agrippa was an expert. He's not the Roman emperor. He's the king of Judea. Right? Not from the lineage of Yahawashi. Right? Go on. It's also called Herod Agrippa. Right? Herod and king goes hand in hand. It's just a title.
Correct. So book of Acts, chapter 26 and verse 14. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me, saying in the Hebrew tongue.
It's lucky, not that. I want verse 26.
Verse 26. For the king knoweth of these things, before whom also I speak freely, for I am persuaded that none of these things are hidden from him. For this thing wasn't done in a corner.
Right, so the king knoweth of these things. So the king knew about the so-called Christians, right? The Israelites that believed in Christ. He knew about that. It wasn't something that nobody knew about. And the Israelites that believed in Hamashiach Yahawashi, they weren't hiding. They weren't doing it at home, just in the corner. Yeah, I believe in Christ by myself. I'm just there. No, they were out teaching, preaching, doing the works, they're doing wonders, doing miracles, doing the things that can glorify the Heavenly Father out, man. No, they went out and taught the word and preached, man, through the Spirit. Let's read on.
Verse 27. And King Agrippa, believest thou the prophets? I know that thou believest.
I know that thou believest. Paul's saying, I know you believe the prophets. How can Paul say, I know you believe the prophets, if they didn't already know that this guy was already well brought up in that? He believed the prophets, man, right? He believed, the prophecies to these Edomites that were living at this time. And, scholars agree with the Edomites, that Agrippa was an Edomite, right, that were living at that time. And you got a question, if, these being Edomites, why would the Romans choose them, put them in power, man? Right? If the Romans weren't the same. So he believed the prophets. So that's why, when you get the context of the classic quote in verse 29. You know, fine? No. In verse 29.
Come on, verse 29. And it reads, or verse 28 or
29.
Verse 29, and Paul said, I would to God that not only thou, but also all that hear me this day were both almost and altogether such as I am, except these bonds.
All right. So that's, Paul was able to speak to King Agrippa because he was, I wouldn't say he was a Christian, but he was well acquainted with the laws of the Jews and with the prophecies, and believed those prophecies. So that's why, he said, and that's why he said, what, you kind of persuaded me. You kind of persuaded me to follow this, because he already knew about the prophecies, already knew about Yahawashi coming, already knew about the laws, already knew about these things. So to him, it's like, you know what, I hear you, this kind of makes sense, but you know what, he's an Edomite at heart. So he's not going to actually put his, the status of kingship down and start following Paul. But he's saying, you know what, I hear you, if I could, I would. but I ain't giving this away. But you know, if I was a peasant, probably would. I probably would cleave. So right now, Agrippa's cleaving right now, and that's how, you know, Paul was able to use wisdom to get King Agrippa to allow him to walk freely, because he had more work to do. Right, the work wasn't finished. So let's go to what time is it? Okay, calm. Right, let's go to Matthew. Actually, let's go to Psalms chapter 2 and verse 7. Right, this is one of the prophecies of Yahawashi, man.
So book of Psalms chapter 2 and verse 7. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee.
So this is there was a son of the Most High God that was expected to come forth on the earth. Right? This is not something that's new. This was of old. Let's also get Matthew chapter 14. The Most High will move to quickly go into that.
It's the book of 14 and verse.
Verse 1.
It's the book of Matthew chapter 14 and verse number 1. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Yahawashi.
Right, so this is a different Herod. Right, so I'm gonna go to it real quick. This is Matthew chapter 2 and verse 18. It says, but when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt. So Herod died, right? The original Herod, that's Herod the Great. Herod the Great died. Herod is a title, not just one man.
Right.
So Herod the Great, so-called, died, and now you have a different Herod reigning over the king, over Judea. So at verse 1 in Matthew 14 said at that time, when Yahawashi was on the earth, it was around 30 years later, Herod the Tetrarch, and a Tetrarch is because Israel was divided into 4 places. Tetrarch means 4, like you have a tetrahedron, which is a 4-sided 3D shape, right? Or a tetragrammaton, which is a YHWH, or Yaha, Wa, and Ha. Right? Tetragrammaton is 4, so it was divided into 4 places. Herod had one of those, which is Judea, and Perea. He heard of the fame of Yahawashi. So remember, these people Herod knew about the laws and the prophets. Many of them even believed it. Let's read on.
Verse 2, and said unto his servant, this is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him.
Right, so this is Herod Antipas. You can look him up real quick. Herod Antipas. What's up?
Looking up like an Arab or something.
Galilee. So that bit, yeah. See, predecessor, Herod the Great, successor, Agrippa the First. So you can see the time that this man is living. So you have Herod the Great, then you have this Herod Antipas at the time of Yahawashi. Different Herod. Like the previous one, who hunted him down, died, and that's why, you know, Joseph was in Egypt, because Herod was hunting him down, and then came back from Egypt back to Galilee, and then rested there, because it's a different Herod. And this Herod is different from the previous Herod. Herod the Great, you know, he's got that name because he's wiser than this Herod. This Herod's kind of stupid. The previous Herod was a bit wiser. This Herod is not the great for many reasons. And we're going to see once I'm willing to get into. So this is that time period we live in. Let's get verse 3.
Verse 3, for Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife.
All right, go on.
Verse 4. For John said unto him, it is not lawful for thee to have her.
Right, saying, look, you decided to get with our laws, and then now you're committing adultery, taking your brother's wife. He's not talking on the spiritual brother. His actual blood brother took his wife, man.
It's a spirit.
Right. So, and let's get Isaiah 26 verse 10. No matter how much you say, just teach the heathen, you got to teach everyone. Well, we've tried that. We've tried this in the past, and what happened? They overthrew us, and then they started committing breaking those laws. So it's about us keeping it. It's not about everybody. No, we've got to work in order, work on ourselves, because if we're not doing it, they're just gonna come in and overthrow us, man. They're not gonna continue submitting under us if we're not doing it. They want the power, man. They're power hungry. So,
Isaiah 26.
verse 10.
Isaiah 26 and 10. Let favor be showed to the wicked.
Like Hyrcanus showed favor to the wicked, right? Those Edomites showed favor to them. Go on.
Yet will he not learn righteousness?
They will not learn righteousness. They will not. They will hear the commandments. They will nod their head and say, yeah, we'll do it. But they will not actually keep that righteousness.
In the land of uprightness,
which is Israel, in that land, go on.
Will he deal unjustly?
Right, they're going to hunt down Yahawashi. They're going to hunt down John the Baptist. They're dealing unjustly, go on.
And will not behold the majesty of the Lord.
Right, they don't care about the majesty of the Lord. They don't care about the majesty of Yahawashi. They don't care about the fear of the Most High. They're saying, yeah, finally, I crept up in the Holy Land, and now it's mine. I'm reigning. So these guys, these Herodians, they should remind you of a particular group of people, right, who've come into the Holy Land, said, we are these people now, and then in that land they're not keeping those laws. They should remind you of a people, man, that do that. I ain't gonna.
If you have ears to hear, man, you have ears to hear.
And let's read on in Matthew 14. Verse 5.
Matthew 14 and verse number 5. And it reads, and when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept,
Herod's birthday was so these guys just doing anything, committing adultery, right? Celebrating birth, because they all go hand in hand, man. Right? People commit adultery, like the people who like celebrating birthdays as well, man. Right? They all go hand in hand, right? Let women dance around you on your birthday, singing the birthday songs and stuff like that. And Jeremiah and that, right? Going off, man. Now you're trying to get pleased on your birthday.
You see that?
Trying to get all your wishes, man. Right? No grown man should be celebrating their birthday, blowing out candles. I just shouldn't be blowing anything but a trumpet, man. Right? Blowing out candles on your birthday, having everyone clap for you. Yeah, you're getting dressed up, you're coming down, getting a little surprise birthday, and saying, yeah, man. Now you got a little emotional statement and stuff, and saying, thank you guys. That's wicked and off and effeminate, and no grown man, you got a beard and you're celebrating your birthday. That's ridiculous, man.
Some are even painting their nails.
You're singing, or no one should be singing happy birthday to someone else. It's a Sabbath day. You're saying, no, I'm not coming because I'm not coming to camp because it's my wife's birthday, and it's gonna take her out to
brunch.
God knows, yeah,
brunch, man.
Yeah, it's gonna go out for a little brunch, man.
Or even better, you're saying you're not gonna keep the Sabbath day. You're gonna do a UFC fight on Sabbath, man. All right.
Yeah, man. So the wicked are just gonna deal unjustly. Might teach people the laws, and it's gonna go according to their own ways, their own lusts. We have to endure. Don't be like these Edomites. Don't be like these Herodians, where now you got a little bit of power. Now maybe you got a bit of knowledge. Then you just start doing what you want to do after. Finally. You just wanted the knowledge and the power, right? Yeah, I can tell people what to do and get onto people now. but then you're not even doing it. That's a spirit of the Edomite. Don't be an Edomite. Don't be Herodian. You have to keep the commandments. So this is a little, kind of prelude into the times of Yahawashi. Most High willing will kind of keep in that same spirit going forward. But now we can see and get the context of this time period that Yahawashi was living in, who some of these people are that's in rulership, how and why he was operating in the way he was, because as the children of Israel, we should know what our forefathers were dealing with, what they were doing. It shouldn't be new to us. Let's go to Exodus chapter 20.
So book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse number 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Praise it, man. So the Most High willing, that was edifying. And, we can remember to keep the commandments, get back into our history and our culture, our traditions, which is in the scriptures, given by the Most High, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahawashi. All right, I'm going to close out in prayer before we wrap up. We're going to do the other one below in the evening. Can try to get it up for you guys on the Zoom as well. I'm not going to be able to send it to you because you ain't got it on, but we're going to go through it. So when you find it, I think you found it last time, the other one below. Now we'll just go through it. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwatka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Baharatiza, Kawa, Haya, Bashemayim, Nathananawa, Lakam, Kaliwa, Wasalaknawa, Kawabwathanawa, Kasalaknawa, Kawabwathanawa, Wala'a, Tabayanawa, Banasayawan, Aval, Hawashayanawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Waha'ala, Wathaparak, Lawalamian, Aman. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. By Hashem, Yahawashi. Amen.
Amen.
Praises. Shalom to everyone. Also, when you have a mighty Sabbath. Shalom.